Breaking news from Real America's Voice.
We begin this special edition of American Sunrise, the second hour, with a live look at Air Force One as President Trump is headed that way. We're expecting he will arrive here in short order. We actually saw a convoy with some vehicles pull up just moments ago, and we expect the president will be in that convoy and getting ready to board Air Force One, leaving Israel, heading to Egypt. You see the red carpet rolled out there. It has been rolled out for the president all day as he came to oversee the release of the hostages. 20 living Israeli hostages are now back with their families, back in Israel after having been released from Hamas custody. They, of course, have been held since October 7th, 2 years ago, and now they are home. President Trump now on the second leg of his trip, going to Egypt to meet with other world leaders to continue discussing peace across the Middle East. Let's bring in Allison, Hans, David Brody to talk a bit more about this as we continue to watch the ceremony here, the president getting ready to walk down the red carpet and board Air Force One and take off. David, this next leg, and you and I have been talking about this, Allison, we've been talking about this as well, is really where the rubber meets the road. This is the meat of this trip. Yes, President Trump was in Israel this morning. He oversaw the release of the hostages, spent time with the hostages who are now back home in Israel, addressed the Knesset, which is basically the Israeli parliament. That was the ceremony, if you will. That was the pomp and circumstance of the moment. But this next part of the trip, meeting with these other world leaders for this peace summit in Egypt, this is really the meat of moving forward and making sure that there's everlasting and a long-lasting peace.
Yeah, it never, look, this doesn't happen if there's not buy-in from Arab nations. And he got the buy-in, the president got the buy-in. And so now this is part two of that, if you will, to kind of say, okay, so what is this going to look like exactly? And they're going to have to figure that out. And this is going to be a process. But, you know, Trump moves quickly. So this idea that this is going to, you know, basically take years and years, no. Maybe finally to have it be the Riviera of the Middle East, yes. But in terms of the governance of Gaza, no, it's going to go on pretty quickly. The way the president says right away, actually, he wants this to happen right away. This will be about an hour flight, FYI, over to Sharm el-Sheikh. Of course, Sharm el-Sheikh is on that, it's a beautiful coastal city. I've never been there, but I've seen pictures, and it's got, you know, white sandy beaches, and it's got all the beautiful amenities and the beautiful hotels and all of that stuff. So, you know, very luxury type city. By the way, who will be there? Okay, so I can go through the whole 20 list of countries that'll be there, but let me just focus on a couple. Turkey will be there. President Erdogan will be there. That's significant. Look, let's just cut to the chase. President Erdogan is not a good dude, okay? Let's just be clear about that. He wants an Islamic caliphate. That's what he wants. And for him to set foot potentially in the Gaza Strip, not today, they'll be in Egypt, but I'm talking about eventually Turkey's going to have a peacekeeping role. They're going to have troops, if you will, or some folks on the ground in Gaza. That is nirvana for Erdogan. I mean, he loves the fact that he's in Gaza. Remember, he wants this, like I said, this Islamic caliphate that runs from Turkey to the Mediterranean. So the fact that he could be in Gaza is music to his ears. Qatar will be there. The Emir of Qatar will be there. And let's just raise some thorny questions here. Was Qatar being promised in exchange for their help here? We saw reports over the weekend that Qatar is going to, or we're going to help Qatar build an Air Force facility in Montana. I'm sorry, but listen, I ain't the brightest bulb in the shack, but it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that, that's an interesting timing, considering Qatar just helped broker this peace deal. So, Allison, I mean, if you put it all together, you wonder about Qatar, you wonder about Turkey, and what they're getting in return for their help to bring peace here between Israel and Hamas.
You're right, David. And I think that the buy-in from these Arab nations, I think we're really looking at the younger generation of Arab leaders who were willing to buy in. The question is, what are we willing to give, or what have we decided to give over? I'm not sure if this type of deal could have happened 20 years ago with those leaders. I don't know your thoughts on that. I'd love your perspective.
By the way, just really quickly, that Qatari Air Force Base, I believe, would be in Idaho, not Montana.
I'm sorry.
I
Yes,
believe
thank
is-
you. Thank you.
No problem. No
You're
problem. Just wanted to
fact-checking me in
clarify
real
that. Go
time. I
ahead,
like it. I'm literally fake news. I'm fake news.
I apologize, David. I didn't mean for it to come across like that. I'm
glad you did. I'm glad you
I
did.
figured the chat would be up in arms, and so I just wanted to clarify that. Go ahead, David. You were
Well,
gonna
I'll
say-
jump in right now. We're looking at Monica Crowley talking with Bibi and his wife, Sarah. Monica has been amazing all over the world, greeting leaders across the globe. She is a fantastic representative for the United States. Smart, elegant, beautiful woman who has done a fantastic job so far. I just wanted to say that.
And the reason she's there is she is the ambassador of protocol, which is obviously very important, especially in these situations. Yes, in Israel, but really when they get to Egypt, the protocol will be very important there as well. By the way, also on this trip, and it's not a huge contingent. I mean, your normal cast of characters. I hate to call it that, but you got Margot Martin, who is a special assistant to the president, Caroline Levitt, Stephen Miller, Dan Scavino. But then, of course, you have the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. Pete Hegseth is with him as well, and of course Ivanka Trump, his daughter, and Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff. So I might have missed a couple, but those are the big ones, if you will. And we are watching the president head towards.
As we watch all of this, especially here, this picture of Bibi Netanyahu, he's obviously there. He could be flying with President Trump over to Egypt to participate in the talks. He has decided not to, despite the offer and invitation from President Trump. It seems to me to be very interesting that the two parties really at the heart of these peace talks will not be party to the actual Egyptian peace talks, and that specifically would be Israel and Hamas. While we don't trust Hamas, and while Hamas is considered a terror group, they are, let's just be honest, critical to maintaining the peace. Neither party will be a part of these peace talks. However, the Palestinian Liberation Organization, PLO, they will be there, which I find very interesting that PLO will be there and party to the talks, but not the two critical parties that are really at the center of these peace talks. David, am I off base here? I'd love to get your thoughts on that.
No, you're not off base, but it makes sense why Netanyahu wouldn't go. First of all, a couple reasons. One, he doesn't want necessarily the PR of him around all of the Arab leaders right now. He thinks it's too soon. But beyond that, let President Trump do the, quote, dirty work. In other words, this is about Arab buy-in. It always has been. And President Trump is in his elements there. I think Bibi being over there would be a distraction to everything going on. And as for Hamas, they don't like this deal at all. Of course, they didn't want to give up the hostages, but they felt compelled to after Arab nations got involved. And when I say they don't like this deal, Allison, let's be clear. Phase 2 is something that they are just not going to agree to all of a sudden. And they don't want to do that at all. So that's why they're not there, obviously.
I agree 100%. Bibi going over there would be a distraction. This is Donald Trump's deal. He has to get in there and execute the details and just get down and dirty. He arrived with a small group, and this is going to be a larger group that he's dealing with, but he's calling the shots. And here he is.
Maybe we can listen in. We might be able to hear something. All right, as we continue to monitor the situation in Israel, and as it says in the Bible, Matthew 5:9, blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. That is for sure. Let's get some reaction now from the region. Got Israeli journalist, digital aide to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, Hananya Naftali. Nanya, talk to us a little bit about what we're seeing here and the interaction between Bibi and Netanyahu and that state of that relationship. It's strong, but I feel like Bibi has to swallow hard at times on some of the stuff that's gone on with this deal. Good morning.
Good morning and good afternoon from Tel Aviv. I have to tell you, you actually see this strong relationship between the Prime Minister of Israel, Bibi Netanyahu, and President Trump. As he landed in Israel, you saw how President Trump embraced Bibi and actually offered him a ride in the Beast en route to Jerusalem. That was outside of the protocol. But if you were in Israel right now, you would see flags of the United States flying everywhere. This shows you how appreciative the state of Israel is, and we Israelis are, for the what President Trump has done and what I believe will continue to do. But I have to say, because that's a very important fact, because for the first time since 2014, there are no living hostages in Gaza. So this is really unprecedented. This is historic times that we're living in. And as this, the name of this operation is, by the way, Operation Returning to Their Border, from the Bible, from Jeremiah 31, verse 17, that says your children will return to their own land. So this is actually what we are seeing right now, historic times. The people of Israel are celebrating with flags of the United States, with flags of Israel. And I think that this is just amazing to see this.
All right. Well, Hananya Naftali, we're in a fluid situation here, so thanks for hanging with us. We've got the president there on the tarmac in Tel Aviv, about to take off for Sharm el-Sheikh. We are back in a moment, folks.